and gentlemen, our hosts for the evening.
A little history, if I may. Several years ago, a group of players came to Los Angeles from New York. They worked hard in their new home for the last 50 years. There have been ups and downs, but they have somehow managed to survive. But enough of the Dodgers.
Theater West has been a part of my life for a very long time. I have acted at Theater West, I've written plays that were produced, and I met my extremely talented husband, Abbott Alexander, at Theater West, sitting right there. And this is amazing. Theater West is the longest running theater company in the city of Los Angeles.
Over the years, many, many people have served on the board as chairpersons or as officers of the board, and it's pretty much considered to be a thankless job. So what we would like right now is to have everybody that is here who has in the past been on the board, present or past, please, everyone please stand up. Stand up. All right, good. Now you've been thanked. Sit down.
You are our community, and without you, we couldn't have done tonight, and we cannot do what we do. I have to thank a lot of people tonight, everyone that's in this room, but more important, I have to thank the entire community of givers in Los Angeles that help us to do this work that we do every year for 50 years.
Now, to welcome to the podium a man who, well, he's a comedian, he's an actor, a director. He refers himself to a perfect storm. His name is Howard Storm. Please welcome Howard Storm.
By the time we were 14 years old, my friend Marty and I saw the second act of every Broadway play. We would wait at intermission and walk in with the crowd and get to see the second act. And we decided that we were going to see a complete show. So we found a show called Standing Room Only with Olsen and Johnson and a young actress, singer, performer named Betty Garrett. And we decided we'd jimmy the door and sneak in. We did that, but we didn't wind up in the theater part. We found ourselves backstage. And grips are running, everybody's moving, and we're lost. We don't know what's going on. And this guy grabs us, the security guy, says, "What are you doing here?" And I look over and I see a dressing room door with the name Betty Garrett. I said, "We're here to see Betty Garrett." He says, "She better be expecting you." And he's got us by the collar, and he walks us to the door, knocks on the door, and she says yes, and he says, "Miss Garrett, there are two young boys out here that claim to have an appointment with you. We found them strolling around back here." And she said, "Oh yes, I'm expecting them." Lost contact for about, I guess, 20 years or so, and now I'm directing Laverne and Shirley, and Gary Marshall says, "We've got a woman we're bringing in to play the landlady." I said, "Who is it?" He said, "Betty Garrett." I don't say a word. I wait, she shows up. I say, "Miss Garrett, do you remember a kid named Howie Sobel?" And she looks at me. She says, "That's you. What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm the director." And she did that show, and then when that show was over about 6 or 7 years, she then went on to do All in the Family, which, by the way, was groundbreaking and one of the shows, in my opinion, that changed the entire sense of sitcom as it was. In fact, a recent poll was taken about the best TV shows of all time, and All in the Family was ranked number 1. As a matter of fact, several of Norman Lear's shows were the top 20. Norman has combined love and entertainment with a love of country and a love of humanity that is stretched into love of theater. And he is a treasured supporter of Theater West, for which we are eternally grateful. It is an honor for me to introduce Norman Lear.
When this kind of thing has happened to me for all the years, I've never not thought of my mother, because I would call my mother to tell her when I'd been invited to do something that was extraordinary or something great was happening to me. And I'd have called her today to tell her that I was coming to speak about Betty Garrett, and you guys had asked me to. And I know what she'd have said, because I called her when I got a call on a Sunday morning a great many years ago to tell me secretly that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, or Television Arts and Sciences, had decided to establish a Hall of Fame. And I was going to be inducted. This was the first group of inductees, with David Sarnoff and William Paley and Edward R. Murrow and Patty Chayefsky and Milton Berle and Lucille Ball and me. And I called my mother in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Mom, I got it, and this is 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. And I said, Mom, I just got this call, and this is what's happening. And I rattled off all those names, and she said, listen, if that's what they want to do, who am I to say?
Up there with the angels, away from all of this, away from this rigorous time in the outback. I just hope there's a spot next to him for me someday. Someday. Someday.
Do we have to stay?
Well, she knew we were coming, and I think she saw us.
That's what I hate about these small theaters. You can't hide. What if we go? You could call her later. Tell her the babysitter had to go home early.
She knows we don't have kids. She's my sister, for Christ's sake.
It was bad. Or was it just me?
It was terrible.
Doesn't she know that?
Of course she doesn't know that. When you're in a play, you don't know that. That's God's gift to actors.
This magic lamp was a prop from last season's play, Aladdin, the Princess, and the Magic Lamp, which I'm proud to say that I directed. Now I'd like to rub it one more time and make the following wish. Yeah, I wish I could see Paul Denniston and Emily Bridges reprise their roles one more time.
Wow, that Aladdin sure is something. This morning, I was just a beautiful princess, but this night, I'm a beautiful princess who's in love. Oh, it's almost like a fairy tale.
New lamps for all.
Ooh.
New lamps for all.
Who are you?
Oh, me? I am just your ordinary traveling lamp salesperson. New lamps for all, new lamps for all. That's how my wares are bought and sold. New lamps for all.
Do it. New lamps for all.
You've
got some old lamps to sell. I'll trade them for my new lamps as well. You'll get a bargain right from the start, a bargain from the bottom of my heart.
Lamps, lamps for gold.
You can touch it.
Lamps, lamps for gold.
Come and get it. Lamps for gold. Lamps for gold. I'm a wonderful man, doing nice things for people when I can. And you don't know how good it makes me feel when I can take a loss on the deal.
Lamps, lamps for gold.
Oh, baby.
Lamps, lamps for gold.
Bring it down now. Lamps for road. Lamps for road. So please, make this transaction. Give yourself enlightened satisfaction and trade some crummy old light for one that's shiny and brassy and bright.
Lamps, lamps for gold.
Getting jiggy with it.
Lamps, lamps for gold.
Getting jiggy with it.
Lamps, lamps for gold.
Getting jiggy with it. Lamps for road. 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 Come and get it.
Let's take a brief look at some videos from Storybook Live, produced by my mom and dad, and occasionally starring myself.
Strangers in the woods, posing dangers in the woods. Whoa! So stay on the trail and I'll never fail.
These words I sing you must not forget.
Hello. I'm not supposed to talk to strangers in the woods, posing dangers in the woods. Excuse me.
Dream of pies about this size. I dream of ice cream too. Goodbye, goodbye, and though you must go, goodbye, goodbye, I love you so.
Actually, I'm Jack Kutcher, and I've loved playing these two roles over the years and being a part of Storybook Theater. I'm so happy to have been asked to participate in this evening's program, and it's my pleasure and my honor to present the inaugural Excellence in Family Entertainment Award to Barbara Mallory and Lloyd Schwartz.
We have all seen the Oscars. Winners are given 45 seconds to sum up their entire careers, and then music plays and they have to leave before they're finished.
That's because there's so many winners, but tonight we just have us and Beau Bridges.
So, we thought that we'd take the time now to name each of the 167 Theater West members who have been in our plays and tell you a little about each one of them. Okay. But seriously.
Once upon a time, a long time ago,
there was an exceedingly beautiful queen, Barbara Mallory Schwartz.
and a dashing young, handsome king, Lloyd J. Schwartz.
And unto them was born a son, Prince Andrew, long before that other Prince Andrew. And they wanted to show Andrew the world of theater and present plays for his amusement.
And thusly, they looked around for a theatrical troupe to join. In fact, it was Lady Bridget of Hanley who said, "Come hither to Theater of West and doeth your entertainments here."
And verily they did.
Yes, verily. And people came from miles around, from the hills of Granada, he wrote this, I don't know, and the
But she approved it. She approved it, though.
And so, become yourself, because the past.
No, but Mom, but I don't want to walk them.
That's a great idea, going to the park after school.
Now let's go to school. Now they went in the car and drove to school with Daisy. The audience.
Them on your dreams, the one they picked, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh.
And our current production is The Fantastics. Currently running, doing very nicely. And here to sing a number from the show are Molly Reynolds and Joey Jennings, singing Soon It's Going to Rain, as Matt and Louisa, the two young lovers who've run away, and they're going to discuss their future. You wonder how these things begin. Well, this begins in a glen.
Hear how the wind begins to whisper. See how the leaves go streaming by. Smell how the velvet rain is falling out where the fields are warm and dry. Now is the time to run inside and stay. Now is the time to find a hideaway where we can stay.
Soon it's gonna rain, I can see it. Soon it's gonna rain, I can tell. Soon it's gonna rain, what are we gonna do? Soon it's gonna rain, I can feel it. Soon it's gonna rain, I can tell. Soon it's gonna rain, what'll we do with you? We'll find 4 limbs of a tree, we'll build 4 walls and a floor, we'll bind it over with leaves and duck inside to say. Then we'll let it rain, we'll not feel it. Then we'll let it rain, rain come well, and we'll not complain if it never stops at all. We'll live and love within our own 4 walls. Would you like me to show you around the castle?
Oh, yes, please.
The lookout tower, and the throne, and this, the family pride and joy, the ball.
My, how grand.
Princess.
Your Highness.
We'll find 4 limbs of a tree.
We'll build 4 walls and a floor.
We'll bind it over with leaves and run inside to say.
Soon it's gonna rain.
Run inside to say.
Soon it's gonna rain.
For soon it's gonna rain. I can not complain.
Happy ending.
If it never stops at all.
Then we'll let it rain. Why complain? We'll live and love within our walls.
Happily we'll live and love, no cares at all. Happily we'll live and love within our castle.
We're very excited, actually, to announce our new partnership with Autism Speaks. And here to say a few words about this is Matt Asner. Matt, where are you? Oh, there you are.
What a perfect marriage for Autism Speaks. Because when you, there we go. When you have autism, you have a locked door. And all you have a million keys that you have to try and get through that door with. And so I see this as an opportunity to provide some families with some keys. So I thank Lloyd and Barbara for the opportunity to try and unlock some of these doors. So we're very excited about this and hope it lasts and hope it's a great relationship that builds year after year. So we're really excited to be here. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Since this is our 50th anniversary, it is only logical that we should have many generations as part of the Theatre West family. Together, tonight, Caitlin Galogly, daughter of John Galogly and Mary Garipoli, and Maddie Parks, granddaughter of Betty Garrett, would like to sing a song and dedicate it to Betty.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made from what I've learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship as it passes us like a wind off the stream that needs a shoulder. Like a bird in the wood, who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Theatre West has had many members go on to great things, though not as spectacular as being on the stage at Theatre West. Well, in Sally Field's case, I suppose 2 Oscars, well. I'd really like to invite her, bless her heart, to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Sally Fields.
I am a member here. I did. I came in 1963, 1968, 7, and I sang a song and told a joke. That's what Betty told me I had to do that. Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me be here, or asking me here, and that I made it here myself. I'm surprised, but I'm here. God, what a funny life actors live. We learn tricks and a skill. We learn to hypnotize ourselves to believe for a brief period of time that we're someone else. We as actors, we try to live in someone else's shoes to tell a story. We work really hard to own that history and life experience of really just other people. As an actor, I open my treasure chest of emotions, and using my own colors, I try to paint a portrait of someone else. You collaborate with other actors to tell the story, and the two of you construct that relationship. You meet, and in a matter of hours, perhaps days, you find a way to create a history. In most cases, a history for a relationship that never existed except on the page. You find yourself having passionate fights, passionate kisses. You instantly have children together. You're in cars and bars. You're in love and in bed. That actor is your fellow warrior, the soldier by your side, whether you like it or not. And if you're really lucky, you find yourself in a car, in a bar, in love, or in bed with Beau Bridges. I first met Beau in 1979 in Opelika, Alabama. We were in rehearsals for Norma Rae. We met eyes, we shook hands, and we launched. How incredibly easy it was to go into battle with Beau as my fellow comrade in arms. His energy and laughter, his enormous heart and tenderness, his absolute total willingness to be foolish. There was this one scene that we were doing in the mill where Beau's character was meeting Norma Rae for the first time, and he sort of liked her, but he wanted to give her a hard time. And Beau's great idea was that he jump from enormous bin to enormous bin to enormous bin filled with raw processed cotton. Now, if you don't know what raw processed cotton is, it's like the fuzz off a dandelion. It's absolutely lethal. It gets in your eyes and your ears and your nose and your lungs. If you weren't allergic to it before, you surely are after it. Beau did that time after time after time. He would dive into this huge vat of raw cotton fuzz. He would absolutely be enveloped, he would disappear, and he would pop up covered with fuzz. Now, Beau has a lot of hair on him. And every single hair in his body was covered, I think probably for weeks and weeks and weeks, with fuzz. He looked like the abominable snowman. Oh, yes. But as in war, after the battle is over and the film is in the can, everyone hugs, deeply bonded from the life you have shared together, and off you go into your own lives. Beau and I did just that. except for a few amazing days in Cannes. I'm sorry, Wendy. Of course, it was during the festival. It was one of those rare celebrations where you got to share your work together. I felt like we were two soldiers on leave, except honestly, I think he was a much more rowdy soldier than I was. I'm still hearing from him all the things that he did that I never knew about. My God, I was never invited to do that. All right, fine. Anyway. We'll always have Cannes, you know? 30 years later, I was in another battle. This was in the form of an hour-long television series for ABC, and we were in our 5th year, and I was one weary warrior. A new character was being introduced into the show, a love interest for me. Glory, hallelujah. And it was television, so we had no real rehearsal. My character was in bed, and then, well, therefore, so was I. And then this new love interest was to come, quietly tiptoeing into the bedroom looking for his dog, which happened to be in bed with me. These things can happen. It was a good dog, actually. And so this person, this love interest was Bo. Not the dog, the person who tiptoed into the room was Bo. And so we didn't have time even for a run-through because the dog was ready to go. So we just rolled the cameras, both of them. Yeah, there was 2 cameras, one of them was for the dog. Without a hello, without a word to each other, we were back in battle again, at each other's side, as if not one single day had gone by. For months and months and months, I was in cars, in bars, in love, and in bed with Beau Bridges. He had my back, and I knew it. He gave me energy and laughter and his sweet generosity. His constant commitment and passion for his work has always, always elevated my work. And I adore him. Thank you, Beau.
I had to do it. There's no other way.
You're lucky that you've got somebody that loves you like that.
Don't come any closer. I can't go back. I can't.
No, I don't think we're better than you, son. No. However, I do think we're a little quieter.
Do you know what NAACP means?
No, Elgar. What does it mean?
It means niggers ain't always colored people. What does he mean by that?
He called us niggers.
Us?
Look, the light's changing!
Nobody runs over wheelchairs!
We're gonna get killed! It's gonna change, we're gonna get killed! What are you doing?
Okay, I got a few things to say to you. I just want a little privacy.
I'm gonna see you through getting tired, getting sick, getting old. I'm gonna see you through anything that comes up. And there's nobody else in my head. Just you.
This is paint, Frank.
It's not paint. It's a magical sheath which simulates a dazzling head of hair.
Frank, this is paint.
Just help me put it on, okay? You're supposed to spray in a circular motion.
We could try it.
How?
You could lie on top of me. Very exciting. Of course, whether I'd be able to come up to it, that's another matter.
We could take a shot at it.
I'll be the one to take a shot at it. Let's get that straight.
Well, I kind of expect an answer tonight.
Oh!
I mean, this man is not, he just don't sit around his butt waiting for someone to call and say, hey, man, you want to kill somebody for me? I mean, he's got other people he works for.
Right, I just got to get the money.
I want to make
I'm
sure
getting
that I
paranoid.
get my money. And I said, well, you know me.
Yeah.
I'm giving you my word.
No, Terry,
He
I'm
says,
not gonna-
I just
I'm not-
want you to
I'm not
know
letting do that,
if I
Terry.
don't get my money, I'm
coming
coming after
after
you.
you,
And I'll say,
bud.
hey, that ain't no problem, because then I'll show you who she is. I name my children after my heroes. Zane Grey, L'Amour Hart. Isn't that awful? Half her class thinks she's French, and the other half thinks she's a stripper.
Fine. Now, look, the truth is, TK, the race is too dangerous, it's too brutal, and it's no place for a woman. No place for a real woman. I mean, for a real old woman. It's a man's thing.
Listen, if this war is over, we ought to be the ones to trumpet it from the rooftops. It's 2 weeks to the election. Now, an announcement from me will look like two-bit politicking, a cheap shot after the classiest campaign in history. I didn't even mention McGovern's name once. I won't play games with a war.
But Denver's where he should be.
I'll give it everything.
Hey, you know I don't do contracts. But what you do have is my word. And it's stronger than oak. Like the brave men in your family. Our Tom Thumb is a soldier. General Tom Thumb. Are you ready to learn an act, boy?
It would be a treat, sir.
Excellent. Do what I have to do to get you to stick with something for once in your life. If that means I have to smash a few gerbils, then I'm gonna smash a few gerbils.
Fine, throw a gerbil, I dare you. See, I knew you wouldn't. Son of a bitch!
Oh, yeah, real determined son of a bitch. He's Lou's sisters. No, wait. Lou has a sister, the sister's husband. Lou's brother-in-law is cousins with that guy.
Yeah, who's Lou?
No, wait. You mean the cottages on the bay or the cottage back by the trail?
The Bay, the guy with the wife and the 2 sons.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, determined son of a bitch.
But I want to say 2 things. This isn't a new thought for me. I've thought it for some time. But my God, how many times it occurred to me today. We all know the world is so fucked up. Things are so awful out there. I don't mean this apocalyptically, because I won't wake up any morning I don't have hope. But I have thought for a long time, and this evening, when this world is saved, the door will be opened by the arts. and the politicians and their policy.
But as I get older, I realize that what Bo really has is the cool of substance. And by that, I guess I mean that he is honest, he's open, and he's true to himself, to those he loves, to those who love him, and the world around him. It's an amazing gift to watch him kind of navigate through life with this, and it's something that I've always, not only admired, but tried to learn from and emulate.
What I've learned from Bo is this, that acting is an art form, and an actor can be a creative artist, but acting is also a craft, and an actor better learn how to practically apply his art. But most of all, what I learned from Bo is that acting and being an actor is something to be proud of. And I know that my mother, who was so proud of you and proud of the way you developed and stretched as an actor, would be honored that Theater West chose to name this award for her, designed by Cindy. But she would be tickled pink that you, who she loved like another son, are its first recipient.
Thank you very much. Excuse me, I just have to go to the bathroom for a second. I'll be right back. No. Hey, this is way past my bedtime, as I'm sure it is for a lot of you. But I've never received a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I don't know if I ever will again. So I have a few remarks. I'll try to whip them by as quickly as I can. But, any achievements that I've experienced in my life are due to my family, and it's my mom and dad, Lloyd and Dorothy, and the ones that are here, my lover, my best friend, my wife, Wendy, my rock since I met you 35 years ago, my firstborn son, Casey, and my son, Jordan, his wife, my daughter-in-law, Carrie, our son, Dylan, our daughter, Emily, my son, Zeke, who's away at college, hopefully studying right now. Jordan and Carrie also gave us two wonderful grandchildren, Lola and Orson. And my brother, Jeff. And my sister, Cindy, and her husband. And my brother-in-law, Scott. I also want to thank everybody who worked so hard to put on this wonderful evening. John Galogli, Arden Lewis, Charlie Mount, Linda Pace, Lord Schwartz, Dina Maroney, Lisa Freed, and my daughter Emily. Yeah, really, thank you guys. There's a bunch of other people in there too that worked so hard to put it on. There are many different paths that actors can take to reach their understanding of their craft. My path began years ago as a young, curious boy wandering around the dusty sets and funky props of the Actors Laboratory, or the Lab, it was known in those days. It was founded in 1941 by actors from the Group Theater in New York, Morris and Phoebe Kornofsky, J. Edward Bromberg, Roman Bud Bonin. And it was housed in two ramshackle buildings in Hollywood Boulevard. It was the first large-scale introduction to Russian Konstantin Stanislavski's method on the West Coast. The lab initiated a natural expression of the way Americans defined themselves that was new and exciting. My parents, Dorothy and Lloyd Bridges, were members along with their close friends, Larry and Betty Garrett Parks, Jeff and Hope Corey, and Phil and Ginny Brown. My first appearance on stage was at the age of 6 in the company's production of Arthur Miller's All My Sons. I had only one line, which I delivered to the illustrious senior actor Roman Bonin. He was on stage alone reading a newspaper, and I walked out, said my lines to him, and I walked off. Opening night, I was surprised there was a little ripple of applause as I left the stage. And in retrospect, I'm sure the audience's positive response was just an appreciation for a young kid being up at that late hour. But nevertheless, I was enamored of the reaction, and I entered into a contest with my talented and very funny castmate, Arthur O'Connell, who I called Okie. And he would keep track of our claps, as we called them, making hash marks on the stage door. Okie was a great comedian. The audience loved him. And I found myself falling hopelessly behind as we neared the end of our show. So I decided, I was pretty desperate, I decided to go deep to win. So I walked out to Roman Bonin reading his newspaper, and I tore the newspaper out of his hand. I ripped it into a million pieces. I dropped down on my knees and crawled off stage to what I thought would be thunderous applause. Of course, I was met with total silence. I think on that night I truly learned that great adage of less is more. The lab was always filled with lots of children, and we would romp endlessly around the theater while our parents worked, our vibrant imaginations running wild. It was a happy place where a sense of play prevailed and joyous creative juices flowed. My mother, Dorothy Bridges, wrote the following words. The Actors Lab became our home away from home. We spent nearly all our free time there, and the other members became our constant social circle. We had more in common with them than we did with our old friends from school days. These actors were coping with the same hopes and disappointments we were. Some of them were young parents like ourselves, some already well-known actors from the stage whom we admired and hoped to emulate. And gradually we were drawn into the inner circle of those who were the leaders there. They were intelligent, exciting actors and writers who had purpose, were eager to find answers to the world's problems. They fit the label progressive or liberal, which at the time meant they were violently anti-fascist, pro-Soviet Union, proponents of free speech, and against racism or religious prejudice. Furthermore, they believed that people of wealth were not the only ones who should have a say in running the world, but that the common man, the underdogs, deserved a place in determining it too. At first, our impetus for getting involved, our sudden political awareness, was as naive and unthinking as is that of the new kid in school who eagerly wants to be asked to be part of the in-group. Neither of us had any background or inspiration for political thought. That is hard to believe because we were considered well-educated, but they both went to UCLA. That's where they met. Each of us came from families who inherited prejudice passed on a list of often insincere but mocking phrases concepts concerning Negroes, Jews, Democrats, and Catholics. Both our fathers agreed if you favored unions or any other isms, then loyalty to your country was suspect. We had no interest in politics, simply didn't concern us. I write this with shame. What an embarrassing truth for young parents who hoped for a good future and a safe world for their child. But our thinking changed, and we eagerly took part in any activity our new friends asked us to do. Money-raising projects to aid the Loyalist Army in Spain. I posed for a newspaper article asking for donations of food and clothing to be sent to the children of Leningrad during the terrible siege there. And we joined Tony Quinn to make our voices heard in defense of young Mexicans who, because they were zoot suitors, were wrongfully accused in the Sleepy Lagoon murder trial. That was my mom talking. But disaster struck my parents, their friends, and our country in the form of the ignorant, fear-driven House Un-American Activities Committee led by Senator Joe McCarthy. Our best writers, directors, and actors were accused of being communists at a time when Russia was our ally. I remember when I was in the 3rd grade, a kid coming to me in the schoolyard yelling, "Your dad is a commie!" And then he handed me a list of names, and he pointed to the name Lloyd Bridges. I'd never heard the word commie, but I gathered from the tone of his voice that this was not a list where you wanted your name to appear. I scanned the rest of the names on the list and found none that I recognized until my eyes rested on the name Walt Disney. I breathed a sigh of relief. If Walt was on the list, it couldn't be so bad. Now, how Disney made that list is still a mystery to me, especially given his politics. But these were weird times engineered by weird people. Now, some of the accused were members of the party. But many, like my parents, had, out of curiosity, attended only 1 or 2 communist meetings in the distant past and had long before the committee was instigated, lost interest. A number of the actors at the lab were called before McCarthy and his investigators, including my father and Larry Parks. They were asked to name the names of people they'd seen at the meetings. My father did what many people did. He named people who had passed away. Others named people who were still living. There were those who took the Fifth Amendment and did not name anyone. Some say they were all victims. Some still hold grudges against those who name names. Whatever your perspective, the fact remains that the investigation was a dead end. But before it was over, it came close to destroying the entertainment industry, which, as you probably know, is now the 2nd largest industry in the United States. And how un-American is that? It wreaked havoc on some of the most talented members of our industry, ending many careers, putting innocent artists in jail, and in some cases causing people to take their own lives. A piece written by the great broadcast journalist Edward R. Murrow is thought by many to have contributed greatly to the demise of the McCarthy witch hunt. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. We must remember always that accusation is not proof, and that conviction depends upon evidence and due process of law. We will not walk in fear of one another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason if we dig deep in our history and our doctrine and remember that we are not descended from fearful men. Perhaps the most insidious effect of the witch hunt was the devastating destruction of lifelong friendships. Former friends unable to forgive, forget, and move on. Some friendships did survive. My dad and Larry's, for one. Betty Garrett Parks and Larry Parks came into my life when I was 4 years old. They were childless at the time, and I sort of filled that void for them. They showered me with gifts and attention. I was, of course, pissed off when Gary and Andy were born. But since then, I've kind of, that's kind of dissipated a bit. Betty was, she was one of the founders of Theater West, which opened its doors in 1962. And I, with an invitation from Betty, I walked through those doors. And up until then, my only teacher had been my father. He gave me the only book on the craft to read, which was Richard Boleslavsky's Acting the First 6 Lessons. Boleslavsky, a Russian immigrant and former student of Stanislavsky's, had taught at the group theater. And Theater West was my chance to try my wings on my own. I was the youngest member at the time, and I remember how shocked I was as I watched my first workshop scene, John McLean and Margarita Cordova writhing around on the floor in sexual bliss. In the evening of my initiation into the group, I stood before the membership and our leader, Kurt Conway, shaking with fear. The tradition is that all new members have to sing a song and tell a joke. Singing was something I did in the shower, and jokes weren't my strong point either. And as I stood quaking in my boots, Kurt calmly asked me to describe, and I'm having it right now, the cotton in my mouth. Can someone please give me either a glass of wine or a little water? And he asked me, he says, how is that fear physically, thank you, manifesting itself? And I spoke of my mouth feeling as if it was stuffed with cotton and how the palms of my hands were cold and sweaty. And then Kurt asked me to lift up my hands and examine them. And he had me move my tongue around my mouth to experience the dryness. And as my fear became more known and shared with my audience, it began to subside. Recently, I appeared on Broadway in the musical How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and I'd never sung and danced on stage in a production before, and it had been 40 years since I'd tried the Big Apple. And opening night, the fear hit me big time, and there again was that cotton mouth and those sweaty palms. I took a breath, I examined my hands, relaxed my mouth, and I made my entrance. I was scared shitless, but I got through it, and in time began to actually enjoy the experience. Theater West, I saw firsthand wonderful projects like Charles Aidman's dramatization of Spoon River Anthology and Chaz Palminteri's A Bronx Tale begin in workshop and then realize themselves on Broadway and around the world. Monday night workshops were inspiring. I tried everything from the classics to comedy. What a blessing to have an environment where I could try and fail and then get up and try again in front of a group of actors that were so kind and nurturing. Well, maybe some of the comments weren't so kind. But they were true. The voices of Joyce Van Patten, Naomi Carroll, Chuck Aidman, Phil Abbott, Lee Merriweather, Marty Landau, Earl Holliman, Bob Elston, Carol O'Connor, Harold Gould, Lee Phillips, Sandy Kenyon, and of course Betty have served me all through my life and will continue to do so, not only in my craft, but in my life. Richard Boleslavsky said, acting is the life of the human soul receiving its birth through art. My daughter Emily has been a member of Theater West now for 3 years. And we recently wrote a play based on the book that my dad gave me, Boleslavsky's Acting the First 6 Lessons. We performed it for 2 months at Theater West. It was directed by Charlie Mount and produced by John Galogli and my daughter. And now, once again, throughout the world, strident voices of fear, bigotry, and hatred are pumping up the volume. We need more than ever to use our stages and the power of our performances to shine light into the darkness. We've been lifting up rocks, exposing the ignorance that lives in the shadows since the dawn of time. The theater will always endure. I feel so blessed to be one of the storytellers, to be part of the ongoing exchange of ideas that help shape our lives. So I'm so humbled to be holding this. Ooh, it's heavy too. My sister's design. I'm so humbled to be holding this first Betty Garrett Lifetime Achievement Award, or as most of us are calling it now, the Betty. I'd be happier if I was holding the real Betty. But this beautiful piece of art will always remind me of her incredible spirit, her nurturing spirit, and all the precious memories that I have of Betty. You know, I think of her every time I behold the shining faces of the children that are sitting there waiting for another incredible performance of story theater there at Theater West. And I think of her when on Monday nights, I look at the young kids, the new members getting up in the middle of singing their song or telling their story, and there's a flash of brilliance there, you know, and I think of Betty. Yeah. Thanks, Betty. So I'd like to honor that tradition of first-timers by wrapping up with a song and a joke. Now, my song was written a long time ago by Betty Garrett Parks with music by Cy Miller. The Parks and the Bridges family, we've sung this song all through the years to all our children and our grandchildren. So any of you guys, you know, we all have kind of different versions, so if you hear different kind of words, but join in with me as I struggle through my song. Lullaby, baby, sleep and rest like a little brown bird in the nest, tiny and helpless and feathered and dear. I'll warm you and keep you so close and so near. And someday I'll teach you to fly. Yes, someday I'll teach you to fly. Though I know someday you will fly away. Yes, I will teach you to fly. Someday you'll grow up and look to the sky, wondering, yearning, longing to fly, to soar and to dive in the cold black sea, winged and strong as you're meant to be. And I will teach you to fly. Yes, I will teach you to fly, though I know someday you will fly away. Oh, my kids have flown. I will teach you to fly. So now, instead of a joke, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a poem. It's the only one I know by heart. Written by my friend Bernie Casey. In the winter, when the snows came and the trees carried their white burden, and the little flowers hid their faces for the season, I would walk behind the house by the frozen stream, wondering what happens to frogs in the winter. And I decided, as the snow hid my feet, that they probably freeze their asses off. So, sweet Sally Field, thank you for being here. My goodness, I mean, what a lucky twist of fate that I got to play your hubby in Norma Rae, and then later on your boyfriend and brothers and sisters, and being part of the audience that has been there watching you as you've showered us with all those incredible performances, and I thank you so much. You've graced us with your presence. And Norman Lear, come on, buddy, the great genius of our generation, created, oh my goodness. Thanks for coming. And so we have a birthday girl in the audience tonight. And it's not just any birthday. This is a very special birthday. This lady, when Theatre West was founded 50 years ago, she was 50. So you guys do the math. So let's take a look at Connie Sawyer.
I won't say fond memories, but joyful memories of Theatre West. I'd been in Europe for a year. When I came back, I was hungry to act in something else, and Theatre West was there, and it probably saved my life in certain ways. So I have nothing but all manner of congratulations.